Well, folks, the postcast is back, but so are our bad Angels. 6-1 the final, back-to-back blowout defeats. We'll discuss it on tonight's edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast.
You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
That's right, folks. Just like that intro told you, this is the Locked On Angels Postcast. As always, coming at you live after every single Angels game on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. First and foremost, shout out to Daniel because he is always here every single day. Shout out to everybody in here live. Shout out to everybody who listens after the fact, either on the channel or on the podcast feed. If you don't know who I am Gavin Carlson, here after every Angels game, except for yesterday. If you follow the postcast at all, you know that I am here normally after every single Angel game. I was not here yesterday. I had some personal stuff, not anything bad at all. If you don't know, I'm graduating next week from UCLA. You see it there in the back. Graduating from UCLA next week and just had some personal stuff, but we are back here live, and the postcast is back, and so are the bad Angels. 6-1 the final tonight here on Saturday, 7-1 the final yesterday. We'll probably get into yesterday a little bit, just because I know some of you were missing the postcast after yesterday's game, but we'll jump into this one, of course. Before we do, as always, shout out to the sponsor. Today's sponsor is Prize Picks. The episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepick.com/LockedOnMLB and use code in all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Shout out to everybody in here. I'm seeing some comments about the Dodgers. This is not the Dodgers stream. I know the Dodgers had a heck of a win today. They are red hot. But you know who's not red hot? The Angels, and specifically the Angels offense. Back-to-back one-run outings, and I'm just going to lead off with a huge stat here, because on tonight's show, we will discuss the offensive struggles. We'll discuss an average outing from Tyler Anderson, why I think it's not as bad as the stats might say, and we'll also talk about a Ben Joyce sighting once again. Not so good today. Also a Michael Stefanic sighting. Good news there. It went a lot better. But we will start talking about the Angels offense and why it has been historically bad, as it says right there. Today now makes it 15 straight games without scoring more than 4 runs, and that is now the longest streak since all the way back in 1992, when the Angels went 17 straight games without scoring more than 4 runs. That is according to the Houston Astros TV broadcast, so if that stat is incorrect, blame them, not me. But according to them, 15 straight games now in 2024 without scoring more than 4 runs. Once again, the last time that happened, 1992, when our Halos went 17 straight. And in this one, really disappointing. Like, we know that this offense is not great. This lineup is not great. But what is disappointing is that this is the type of game you want to see even the weakest lineup play decent in, and that's because of the starting pitcher for the Houston Astros. Look, we know how it went yesterday, a complete game, getting shut down from start to finish. But in this one, you're going against Hunter Brown, and I'm going to break down Hunter Brown before I break down the game. Coming into this one, 5.58 ERA, 1-5 record. So just on the basis, the basic stats, really ugly. 5.58 ERA, 1-5 in 12 starts. But when you go to the advanced stats, Baseball Savant, if you want to go there, you know, you hear me talk about it. Sometimes pitching run value, fast run value, all these terms. The easiest way to break it down is it's just when a pitcher uses a certain type of pitch, is he above average or below average in terms of avoiding giving up runs? This is on a percentile basis, right? 1 to 100. Pitching run value for Hunter Brown, first percentile, as bad as it gets. Fastball run value, third percentile, basically as bad as it gets. Breaking run value on breaking pitches, second percentile, basically as bad as it gets. The only stat that's not awful, that's average, is his off-speed run value, 46 percentile, which still obviously is below average. But one more time, first percentile in pitching run value overall. That's probably the number one stat you care about. Fastball run value, 3rd percentile. Breaking run value, 2nd percentile. This guy is awful. He's awful in terms of the advanced stats, in terms of the basic stats, if you just want to look at the 5.58 ERA and the 1.52 whip. This guy's not good. He throws a fastball 41% of the time, gives you a split finger 14% of the time, cutter 14% of the time. He is not good coming into this one. And yet, he absolutely shut down the Angels. It'll say 6 hits, but we all know that this team did not really threaten throughout basically the entire game. Tell me in the comments if you think I'm wrong by saying that, but I think if you watch the game, you know what I'm talking about. The only run coming in the 7th inning, thanks to a Nolan Schanuel solo shot. But if you just quickly look at the box score, I don't want to be a box score reader, but I'll tell you, Nolan Schanuel 1 for 4. The rare Rengifo 0 for 4. Taylor Ward did get walked 3 times. That was the only thing that went well for our Angels, is that the Astros walked 7 guys. 7 guys. Daniel says, feel bad for Trout in the comments. Trout watching from the dugout, rehabbing, going, gosh, what am I returning to? We know that. But one more time, 7 walks. The only reason the Angels even sniffed scoring a couple runs in this game, outside of a solo shot from Nolan Schanuel in the 7th. We'll talk about that later. But Rengifo 0 for 4. Taylor Ward 0 for 2, but did get walked 3 times. Willie Calhoun 1 for 3. He got walked as well. But it's just the bottom of the lineup. The bottom of the lineup that's just so bad. Adele continues to struggle. 0 for 3, another strikeout. He did get walked once, thank goodness. Mickey Moniak, he got a hit. He got a hit, folks. 1 for 4. The average goes up on a 1 for 4 to 163. Just look at this lineup. Cole Tucker, pinch running, so we don't have to talk about the batting average for him. But the bottom of the lineup, Zach Neto 0 for 4. He's now down to 245. Matt Thaiss, 220. Joe Adell, 190. Mickey Moniak, 163. And Guillerme batting 9th. He goes 1 for 4 to bring his average up to 246. It's about as bad as it gets. And one more time, if you didn't hear it at the beginning, 15 straight games without scoring more than 4 runs. The worst in Angels history since 1992 when they won 17 straight. And once again, it was just so disappointing that it came against Hunter Brown, who is not good. Advanced stats-wise, basic stats-wise. We'll jump to the 7th inning. The only positive offensively for this team in the 7th came thanks to Nolan Schanuel. And we know that the conversations about his lack of power, it always feels good to see Nolan Schanuel hit a home run. It really does. Because we know, even though he's only hitting 213 this year, we know the average will be okay. Last year was. He had that horrible stretch this season at the beginning of the season where he just couldn't hit anything. And he's being asked to be the leadoff hitter. He's being asked to, have the best at-bats of anyone on the lineup. At least that's what it says by putting him leadoff. And you're really not expecting him to hit many home runs. But once again, his 7th of the season here against Montero, the reliever, the only thing that goes right in the Angels most of these games is when the starter gets taken out. I don't know why Hunter Brown gets taken out throwing 6 scoreless. I know he was walking guys, and I think that's, once again, the same way I've talked about in the past with like Patrick Sandoval getting pulled after 6 innings, even if he's only given up a run or something. It's like, hey, we care more about this guy's development, his mental state. If he had a good 6, even though most pitchers should get a 7th, should get an 8th inning, get him out before it breaks down and just say, thank goodness they had a good start. That's what it felt like with Hunter Brown, taking him out after the 6th inning, despite not giving up a run. It felt like, hey, this is way better than he normally does. Let's take him out now before things go wrong, and let's let him, really have a positive start. Especially because they know he's probably going to get the win on the, in the stat sheet, because we know the Angels aren't going to do anything. Already a decent lead, 2-0 at that point, 4-0 at that point. We'll get into the Tyler Anderson issues. But Schanuel, back to him. Ball way out of the zone. Then he fouls off 2 fastballs in the zone. And then he gets another fastball way above the zone. Not way above, but significantly above the zone. 95.8 miles an hour, and he hits it 98.9 off the bat. It goes 386 into right center field, just gets over that wall. The only positivity, for the Angels offense, and really because, let's be honest, the Astros put a guy out there who kind of looked a little bit like Ben Joyce, minus about 8 on the velocity, which is insane. We'll get to that later. But kind of like Ben Joyce. This guy just came in, threw a bunch of fastballs. He does have a nice changeup that he mixed in occasionally, but he couldn't really locate. And he obviously in this Shanuel at bat throws 4 fastballs, 1 way out of the zone, 2 in the zone that are fouled off. And obviously you get 3 fastballs to start. It's a quick first 2 outs thanks to Moniak and Guillerme, because who doesn't get a quick first 2 outs against those 2 guys on the bottom of the lineup? But Shanuel comes up and he gets 4 fastballs in a row. And surely enough, after the 4th, he's like, come on now. Even if I'm hitting 213, even if I don't have a lot of power, I'm even remotely close to a major league hitter. I think Nolan Shanuel at this point is probably a AAA plus hitter, maybe a borderline MLB player, unlike most of this lineup. By the 4th fastball in a row, I'm going to be able to square it up. And surely enough, even though it's out of the zone, he squares it up, crushes it to right center, and it's the only positivity for the Angels, the only run of the game. There could have been more, though, in the 7th inning. And after we take our first break on the Locked On Angels podcast, I will tell you why. Once again, everybody, 6-1 the final. Astros now outscoring the Angels 13-2 in the first 2 games of this series. And boy, they had us fooled after that sweep. Boy, they had us fooled, thinking like this team maybe could. No, let's be honest. I don't think anybody really thought, even after that sweep, maybe this team could make a run. But Nick in here saying no champagne, because if you weren't here two postcasts ago, or the last postcast, but 2 games ago, Nick King said that we were going to sweep the Astros, and I said if we did, I would pop champagne live on the stream. But not only are the Angels not going to sweep the Astros, the Angels might get swept by the Astros. After the break, we will talk about that bottom of the 7th a little bit more after the Shanuel home run, because the Angels loaded the bases, and maybe we're going to get us really back into that game. 4-1 was the score at that point, and the tying run was actually on first base at one point in the bottom of the 7th. When we come back from the break, I'll talk about that bottom of the 7th and what went wrong. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. We are back after a 1-game hiatus, and I will be right back after a quick break. Today's show is brought to you by Policygenius. Now, look, I've told you about Policygenius in the past. I know I'm 22. I know I'm only graduating college next week, and I still can't fathom that. Maybe in another show I'll get a little personal, but I'm only 22 years old. Hopefully got a lot of life left to live. I've said this multiple times now, knock on wood. But that doesn't mean I haven't thought about life insurance, because life insurance is such an important safety net for your family if you're older, even for someone like me who's going to hopefully have a family in the future, right? Life insurance is so important, and trying to find the right policy on your own can be time-consuming and overwhelming. I've heard that from plenty of people. And that's why you should use Policygenius, the country's leading online insurance marketplace. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that start at just $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams, too. With Policygenius, you can talk to a team of award-winning agents who will walk you through the process step by step, and you can also easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. And most importantly, Policygenius gives you unbiased advice, so you're going to get the best coverage because they give you unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team that has zero incentive to recommend one insurer over another. So if you like the sound of that, and if you want to check life insurance off your to-do list in no time, use Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonmlb or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you could save. One more time, that's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb. We are back here live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. The Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. If you can't tell, I'm a little bit rusty. It's crazy. I feel like I've become a veteran at this point. I think this is like game 13 or 14, and yet I take one game off yesterday, and suddenly I'm stuttering over words, and the energy's, taking a bit of time to get back. But don't worry, we're getting back in the swing of things, and you know who's not getting back in the swing of things? Our Angels. Back-to-back losses, 7-1 yesterday, 6-1 today, and for a second, it looked like the Angels were going to maybe pull a rabbit out of the hat in the bottom of the 7th inning and come all the way back, because we'll get to Tyler Anderson's start in a second and why the Angels were down 4-0 coming into the bottom of the 7th inning. We already discussed that Nolan Shanuel solo home run in the bottom of the 7th was 2 outs because the Angels were given a gift. Let's be honest. They somehow couldn't hit Hunter Brown and that first percentile pitching run value. They somehow couldn't hit off of him. The Astros make the change. They bring in Rafael Montero, and with 2 outs, Nolan Schanuel hits the home run. We caught up there. Then the struggles continued for Montero because on the next at-bat, he walks Luis Rengifo in a great at-bat. 6 pitches, got to 2-2, but then 2 pitches that weren't really that close, and Rengifo walks. That's when the Astros decide, all right, we've seen enough from Montero. 2 bad pitches on 2-2. They go to Brian Abreu. Rengifo gets the second on a stolen base, and then Taylor Ward comes up, and Taylor Ward gets walked again in another great at-bat. He goes ahead 3-0. And you're thinking, all right, wait a second. Then 2 called strikes on 2 sliders up in the zone. Don't think Abreu meant to throw 2 sliders at the letters. At least that's what I thought. But then he throws a 3rd straight slider at the letters. Taylor Ward fouls it off. And then on 3-2, the slider once again, and this one is nowhere near the zone. You don't even see it on MLB.com, to walk Taylor Ward. So suddenly you got 2 guys on with nobody out after a Nolan Schanuel home run, after a pitching change, and then Willie Calhoun gets walked. So Abreu comes in, and the first thing he does is walk 2 guys on 2 full count walks. 2 good at-bats from Taylor Ward and Willie Calhoun, and suddenly, the bases are loaded. And down 4-1, the tying run is on first base. That's why the Angels decide to do what they seem to do every single game. I feel like every single game, in the 7th or 8th inning or 9th inning, Willie Calhoun's on first base and gets taken out for Cole Tucker. It happens every single game. And it made sense. He's the tying run at first base. You've got Zach Neto. We already saw it recently with the bases loaded against the Padres, a 2 RBI double from him. Maybe there's some more magic. Maybe there's a shot to the gap from Zach Neto. Maybe Cole Tucker, the new pinch runner at first, can get all the way around and tie this game. But wishful thinking. This is not the Padres series. This is a new series. And not a good swing. A really bad at bat, to be honest. Down and away fastball from Abreu at 96.5 miles an hour. Neto fouls it off. And then on 0-1, a fastball significantly outside. Like opposing batter's box level of outside. And Neto decides to swing at it. Little too aggressive. Maybe he's still thinking of the last time, like I said, because ironically, it was a pitch outside the zone that he somehow ripped a liner all the way to the wall in left field. But maybe that was in his head. Maybe he knows he has really good stats in his career with the bases loaded. I think it's 4 for 9 with like 6 RBIs or something. A bases loaded hitter, but way too aggressive here. He's young. He's amped up. He's at home. He knows that he has a chance to turn this game completely around. And he swings at a bad pitch. And he barely hits it. Ground ball right to Abreu. Easy out. Inning over. And that was really all she wrote, right? Because that was the only inning that the Angels showed any life. And thanks really only to walks, right? They got the solo shot, but then Rengifo walks, Ward walks, Calhoun walks. It's not like they were good at bats, but not a single hit to earn the bases loaded. And then Zach Neto grounds out. So that was all she wrote. For our Angels. No real fight in the 9th either. Just that Stefanic hit, which we'll get to after the break. But now we'll jump to the Tyler Anderson start. It took us a while to get there. Like I said, 1 day off, and suddenly I feel like a rookie doing these postcasts again, trying to get the pacing back and everything. But we'll jump to the Tyler Anderson start because I don't think the box score is friendly looking. 6 innings pitched, 7 hits, 4 earned runs, a walk, and just 3 strikeouts. But I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's fair to say this is a bad outing from Tyler Anderson. I put average ? Because I don't even know if it's fair to say average. We know the Astros have not been their normal selves in 2024, but we know that lineup is still daunting. We know it is not an easy lineup. Altuve, Bregman, Alvarez, Pena is a really rough start for an opposing pitcher, right? We know that. And so 4 runs looks ugly. 2 runs in the 3rd, 2 runs in the 5th, but multiple times it could have been a lot worse. And I will just point out that Yordan Alvarez had an unbelievable game, an absurd game. 3 for 4, 2 RBIs with the home run. He made Ben Joyce's 103.9, I think, mile-an-hour fastball look like nothing. He's fantastic. We know what he does. The average now up to 296 for him. But I'm not going to be critical of Tyler Anderson's start. And most importantly, for the Angels, I don't think trade suitors in need of a starting pitcher with a left hand are going to be frightened by this outing. It's unbelievable that Tyler Anderson is 5-6 despite a 2.63 ERA. It would have been great to see that 7th inning 2-out rally turn into a tie game or an Angels lead. And even if it's the Angels end up losing, Tyler Anderson deserves a no decision in this game. He does not deserve a loss because of the lack of run support he's gotten all season. It would have been nice for the lineup to, for once, help him out. But despite an amazing 2.63 ERA, he's 5-6. He falls to 5-6 with this loss. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about why I am not at all critical of this outing for Tyler Anderson. For starters, you can't expect a guy to pitch phenomenally every single game. All right? You just can't do it, especially when there's added pressure with how bad this lineup is. But in the top of the third, when the runs start for the Astros, if you didn't watch the game, I'll remind you how it happened. Chase McCormick triples on a line drive, deep to right field, don't get me wrong, but one that Joe Adell could have made the play. It was a tough play. I don't think it's a 50-50 play. I think it's probably a 40-60 play, in favor of it being an extra base hit. But Adell does not make the play. Some teams with some special fielders, that play is made. Then Altuve rips an RBI. Okay, it's 1-0. It's 1-0. Altuve gets to second on, I believe, was a dropped ball by Matt Tice. I might be wrong. But either way, Altuve singles him in, gets to second. Bregman walks. That's the only real mistake. And then the hit by pitch is really bad on Alvarez by Tyler Anderson. Anytime you have a hit by hit pitch, right, it's brutal. But he strikes out Pena. This is all with the bases loaded, by the way. And this is why this game could have been over with certain pitchers. The bases are loaded. You've already given up a run. The bases are loaded. In the third, you have no run support. Just put yourself in the mindset of any starting pitcher. You have no run support. You've already given up one run, and you've probably already given up the game based on how bad your lineup is. But like I said, the Angels have not scored more than 4 runs in 15 straight games. So specifically for Tyler Anderson, that if you give up another hit here with the bases loaded, this game is over. Like actually guaranteed basically over. And so that's why it's so impressive that with the bases loaded, after walking Bregman, after hitting Yordan Alvarez, Tyler Anderson, who's not known for strikeouts, gets a 3-2 strikeout on Jeremy Pena, who's hitting over 300, who's good against lefties, strikes him out, and then he strikes out Diaz on 4 pitches, just like bang, bang, bang. So it very easily could have been, 4-0 in the third. Now, of course, Jake Meyers does get a single. It felt like this inning would have been too good to be true if you go from bases loaded, nobody out after already giving up a run to suddenly getting completely out of the inning after that. Jake Meyers does single in another run, but at least it's only 2 still. I still think that's a positive given the circumstances. And it's just so hard for any starting pitcher to know every single pitch is that much more important for you than for the average starting pitcher because your lineup is not going to help you at all. Of course, now the only other thing in the top of the 5th, after Altuve grounds out, Bregman singles, and then Alvarez crushes one. And I don't know if crushes is probably a little exaggeration. 98.1 off the bat, but just 385. Don't think that gets out in every park. And it's just a matter of every once in a while, if you fall behind to a great hitter, this is expected. And after a first pitch strike, Anderson throws 3 balls. He's forced to throw a strike on 3-1. Once again, you're down 2-0 at this point. There's so much pressure on you. You're forced to throw a strike on 3-1, and he throws a sinker right at the knees, and Alvarez crushes it. That's just baseball, specifically if you're an Angels pitcher. That's just life. If it's 3-1, you got to throw a strike. You got to challenge Alvarez, and Alvarez killed him. But that was all. 4 runs in 6 innings from Tyler Anderson against this lineup, despite having the bases loaded with nobody out, despite Yordan Alvarez having a great game. 4 runs is not that bad, and that's why I think it's an average start from Tyler Anderson, not a bad start. And that's not even getting into the circumstances of just how mentally draining it must be to be a starting pitcher for this team. But those 4 runs were costly. The Angels weren't able to overcome that, and they fall 6-1. We're going to take one more break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast, live on the Locked On Los Angeles YouTube channel. I took yesterday off. I'm back today. I'm still stuttering over my words, but don't worry. We'll get back to the groove that we started before yesterday, all right? We'll get back to it. Don't you worry. So we're going to take one more break, and then when we come back, we'll talk about what wasn't a good performance from Ben Joyce, but why it still might be a positive. Does that make sense? We'll talk about it after our last break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, today's show is also brought to you by the great people at Prize Picks. I love Prize Picks. You know that. Unless this is your first postcast, which if it is, welcome. welcome to the party. Even though our Angels stink, this postcast does not. But if you have seen a single postcast, honestly, at this point, you know how much I love prize picks. Almost every game, there's a prize pick slip for me. There was not one today. Once again, it's kind of a weird weekend for me. Really busy. Graduating next week. I don't got to keep saying it. But no prize pick slip today. But basically every other day, there is a prize pick slip. And it's because with prize picks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game while watching your favorite sports this summer, this fall, whenever. All you got to do is make a prize picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 players, stats, projections, and you're locked in, just like you're locked on with us. You know, Prize Picks, it's the #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. 5 million? Hello. Clearly, if you're not one of those 5 million, you're probably missing out. You can get in on the daily action with your friends and become a part of the Prize Picks community today. All you got to do is download the app, Prize Picks, and use code LOCKEDONMLB, because then they'll give you some added bonus. A first deposit match up to $100. And I keep saying that if you don't know what that is, you can deposit $5, $20, whatever you deposit, they will give you that money in addition. Like, they will double your money is what I'm trying to say. So you can deposit $100 and suddenly you have $200 on Prize Picks to bet more or less. It's amazing. Once again, download the app and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. The Angels fall 6-1 to the Trastros. They are still the Trastros, and they will forever be the Trastros. But let's be honest, our Angels are pretty trash in 2024. Now 2 straight losses. After that sweep against the Padres, they had us fired up. They had us feeling like maybe, just maybe, at the very least, these guys are improving their trade value so we can get some great prospects, and the young guys are heating up. But the past 2 games, back to reality, a reality check, because the young guys are struggling. Basically, nobody's hitting, and even our #1 trade chip, Tyler Anderson, did not have the best game today. Let's be honest. But one thing that was fun, at least, was watching Ben Joyce pitch. And I know that it was not good. I know it was honestly about as bad as it could go. But I'm trying to find some way of being positive. And other than the Michael Stefanic pinch hit 9th inning single on 2 strikes, beautiful piece of hitting. His batting average in 2024, 1,000, of course, his first at bat. But I want to talk about the Ben Joyce performance, because the performance itself looks awful, right? The stat sheet will say, and a third of an inning, because he only got 1 out, he gave up 4 hits and 2 earned runs. You're thinking, Gavin, why the heck are we even talking about this other than being negative, right? That's probably what you're wondering. But if you didn't watch the game, or even if you did and you somehow forgot, I want to give you a pitch for pitch breakdown to some degree, because the numbers from this guy were unbelievable today. First at bat against Yordan Alvarez. First pitch coming out of the bullpen. First pitch. Maybe it takes a little bit of time to get that arm up. We know he's going to throw hard. But 102.5 on the first pitch. And then the second pitch, 103.9. One of the hardest pitches ever thrown in Major League Baseball. I didn't know that the hardest was 105 by Jordan Hicks, I believe I read today. That's pretty insane. And what they were talking about on the Houston TV broadcast was that second pitch from Ben Joyce, that was 103.9, was ripped 106.3 by Yordan Alvarez on a line drive to left field for a double, even for a slow guy like him. But 103.9 is unbelievable. And we'll just, throughout this inning breakdown, obviously you'll hear why it did not go well for Ben Joyce, because all he's got is fastballs, and he's not really throwing them in good places for the most part. But you can't teach 103.9. You can't do it. And so we knew coming into this game that he had an arm. This isn't really a surprise, but let's be honest, it is fun to watch this guy pitch, even if it goes awfully. And boy, did it go awful, because after that 106.9 frozen rope down the left field line, Ben Joyce goes with a first pitch slider to Jeremy Pena and absolutely just biffs it, not even close, way above the zone. Didn't, basically slipped out of his hands. So he goes right back to the fastball. 101.4, then 101.6, then 102.6. And then somehow he throws what's not a bad pitch, a 2-2 slider just outside, probably a little higher than you would like it. But when you're throwing high fastballs, 102, An 86-mile-an-hour slider looks like 40 miles an hour. But nonetheless, Pena rips it. I mean, rips it might be a little aggressive. It's a ground ball, but he hits it 88.8 miles an hour, gets through the hole, and suddenly there's two on. Alvarez on third, Pena on first, and you're thinking, all right, the first time that Ben Joyce is going to have some adversity. I know he had it in his first start of this season, and it was, he obviously got out of the inning unscathed, but this was the first time real adversity, and he did not show up. Let's be honest. Yainer Diaz comes up, and a long at bat, he threw one slider, once again, first pitch slider, and he couldn't locate it at all. And from there, you're toast. If you're Ben Joyce, look, I got two pitches. One of them's a slider, and then I have a ridiculously fast fastball. He's thrown two sliders at this point, and neither of them were even close. 6 inches above the letters on both. So, all right, it's fastball time. It's fastball time, and buckle up, because then the next 6 pitches, all fastballs, 102, 102.2, 100.9, 101.8, 100.8, 103.6, 103.1. Back-to-back pitches over 103 at the end of an at-bat, at the end of an 8-pitch at-bat. That is absurd. You can't teach that, and I know once again did not work out because that 103.1 fastball, pitch number 8 of the at-bat, is ripped as well. Line drive to right field, 95 exit velo from Diaz, and Alvarez scores. And that the party was just getting started. Because then after the only good out, or the only good at bat, obviously the only out from Ben Joyce, he threw a fastball, nowhere near. Then he tries to throw a slider again, nowhere near. He threw 3 sliders at this point. None of them close at all. Then he throws 102.3 on the outside corner, probably one of the best pitches of the appearance, of the outing for Ben Joyce. And then after throwing 102.3 on the outside, he throws, I think, the only fastball of the entire inning that's below 100 miles an hour at 99.8. Oh, come on, Ben Joyce, get an arm. 99.8. But when you throw 102.3 on the outside corner, 99.8 inside still looks like 103. And surely enough, Myers gets a jam shot, line out, right to Shanuel. And you're thinking, all right, if Ben Joyce only gives up a run in this inning, given the bases loaded, given the circumstances, not bases loaded, but given 3 straight hits to start the inning, you would be, I'd say that's still a positive outing. Because let's be honest, this guy cannot locate his slider. And then here against Dubon, I don't think it's a bad pitch. A slider, outside corner, first pitch, the only located slider of the whole game, to be honest, or the second one of the whole outing. And Dubon just kind of bloops a line drive to left field. And he scores Pena. And then, that's all we saw from Ben Joyce. He was taken out after that. But Ben Joyce, I don't know. Obviously, it's not a positive outing because he gives up 2 runs and he got 1 out, right? It's about as bad as it gets statistically wise. But I'm still saying 103 plus multiple times, occasionally throwing the fastball actually where he meant it to be. I'm not going to treat him like he's a kindergartner and give him, golf claps when he throws the ball where he wants it to be. But it'll get better. It'll get better, hopefully, because we know how much stock is invested into him, at least emotionally, at least for me. Maybe it's just me. I don't think it's just me. I think when the Angels are down 6-1, at 24 and 40, a guy throwing 103.9 is about as exciting as it gets, let's be honest. So, not the way you wanted the performance to go for Ben Joyce, but anytime you see him out there throwing over 103 miles an hour, it'll get you excited, and hopefully for our Angels, it will get better. But with all that being said, the Angels, coming off a sweep against the Padres, coming off the most excitement we've had all year, to be honest. I've now gotten blown out in back-to-back games, 7-1 and 6-1 against the Astros. Now that 40 losses already reached, just 64 games into the season, the Angels are already at 40 losses. I don't know what people's predictions were coming into the year. I don't know. I had us at 70 wins. I was pretty negative, I'll be honest. Maybe I am too negative coming into the season, saying 70 and 92, something like that. But 24 and 40, I don't know what the exact on pace is. Maybe one of you guys knows that. Once again, shout out to everybody in here. But I don't know if anybody knows the exact pace. 24 and 40 is, putting the Angels on. But I know it's not good. Over a third of the way into the season now. And you got 40 losses, just 24 wins. So about as bad as it gets. And the conclusion of all of it, as Craig says, Moreno has to start developing his farm. Boy, we know that. Boy, you are right, Craig. boy, you are right. And hopefully, if there was any delusion they talked about on the Locked On Angels Postcast with the Halo Bros, with there being delusion with this franchise still, thinking maybe we don't sell at the deadline. No, come on. Come back down to earth, back-to-back bad losses. Let's be honest, this team has one goal, or two goals, and I broke it down last time. 2 goals. Anybody that plays well and isn't 24 or younger, trade them for something. And anybody below 24 or younger, hopefully they play well and give you some hope for the future, regardless of the wins. And this is a pretty, no-win type of game because none of the young guys played well other than the Shanuel home run. And your one trade chip probably had one of his worst outings in a while. So, it's hard to be positive. Let's be honest. It's hard to be positive. But it's Saturday nights. Go enjoy your Saturday nights. We will be back tomorrow after the Angels hopefully avoid a sweep against the Astros. We will be back tomorrow to discuss it. A day game, 1 p.m., I believe, regardless of the start time. When it's over, I will be here. If you were waiting for this one, apologies for the 5-10 minute delay. My first day back after yesterday, and my tech setup decided to have some issues, so that's always fun. The camera wasn't turning on. I don't know why, but we made it. The postcast happened. Our Angels did not win, and they didn't really show up, to be honest. But 13-2 outscored the last 2 games to start this series. Hopefully, even if it isn't a win, to be honest, because I feel like hoping for a win is obviously not a 50-50 thing. It's a 24-40, 24 out of 64 probability, whatever that is, about a third, something like that. Angels winning about a third of their games. So obviously you hope for a win. Obviously you probably don't expect it to happen tomorrow. Hopefully they prove me wrong, but at the very least, the young guy, Shanuel, Neto, be a little bit better today or tomorrow than you were today. Give us something to be positive about. Joe Adell, please do something to get out of this slump. And hopefully there'll be some positivity tomorrow. But that'll do it for tonight. Shout out to everybody in here. Shout out to all the comments. Half of the comments were about the Dodgers beating the Yankees. I didn't get to see that game. Obviously, the Dodgers are red hot right now. So if you are a Dodger fan that happened to check in tonight, appreciate it. Our Angels are nowhere near your Dodgers. We know that. But we'll leave with a comment from Anaheim Angel because he is always here. Shout out to him. He says, yep, we need players to develop. Boy, we do. Good night to you, Anaheim Angel. And shout out to Craig. Couple comments from you today. Appreciate it. Our Angels, that sweep got us excited, but they're back to a rough patch. 6-1 the final tonight against the Astros. 13-2 they're outscored in the first 2 games of the series. But hopefully, some positivity tomorrow. This was an extra long postcast because I was not here yesterday. That was the only time so far since the history of the postcast that I have not been here live after a game, and we're going to start that new streak of being live after every single game. So please, thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like. Please comment after the fact. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know if Tyler Anderson is still looking like a really valuable trade chip. That's the question of the day. Is he still a valuable trade chip? Is there even any debate about trading him, about trading anybody? Let's be honest. Let me know in the comments. Let me know on Twitter as well. And we will be back tomorrow. 6-1 the final. Let's turn things around tomorrow, Halo Nation. But for now, I'm Gavin Carlson. So long. Good night.